Sutra Karma Law of Flow. Moving in the flow. It's faster and more effective. In mysticism, there is the concept of an egregor, from the ancient Greek watcher, a creation of the collective thoughts of a group of people that operates independently of any individual member or even the group itself. It's like a metaphorical river generated by a powerful idea. Someone voices it, people pick it up, and it turns into a powerful stream. The world is filled with many concentrated, established civilizational and energetic currents. For example, it's obvious that the flow is Silicon Valley, as it has all the conditions for rapid development. A very promising technological field right now is the IT industry for social networks, and those involved in this will build successful careers. These energetic flows have always existed. The Soviet and Russian ethnologist Lev Gumilev once developed the theory of passionarity. Passionarity is an irresistible inner drive, either conscious or more often unconscious, toward activity aimed at achieving a goal, with the achievement of that goal, often illusory, seeming more valuable than life itself. According to Gumilev's theory, passionarity is an innate quality. There is also a phenomenon called passionary induction, where a passionate individual inspires and energizes others to behave similarly. You can speak of the passionarity of communities, nations, states, ethnic groups, and entire regions. A person who enters such a passionate flow develops more quickly because there is an overwhelming concentration of creative energy, thoughts, and talented people. Today, such passionate development zones include Southeast Asia, Korea, China, Japan, Hong Kong, and Singapore. There's lots of energy, many intelligent people, and processes that pick you up and carry you forward. Everything comes to those who know how to wait. Honoré de Balzac. What happens when a person enters such a flow? There's a great example. Let's imagine we decide to cross the Atlantic from Florida to Europe on our own. How could we do that? Theoretically, you could train all your life and attempt to swim across. A more realistic approach would be to build a boat. But if we remember that the Gulf Stream passes near Florida, we might not need a boat or overly strong muscles. We could swim near the shore, try to get closer to the warm waters, and eventually enter the Gulf Stream, which will quickly carry us to our destination. And if we don't just drift but put in some effort, we'll reach our destination even faster. In human society, the indicators of the right flow are people successful, healthy, wealthy, happy, and joyful people. Even those simply passionate about something, who draw others in. Most often, a flow is created by one person and their energy. For example, Richard Branson created such a flow around himself. Or Herman Greff at Sberbank. It's clear that people who join this flow grow intellectually, emotionally, and financially because it's a highly nourishing, developing environment. Life is a flow, a river, its moods constantly change. Osho Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. The bright, swift current of a river represents our youth, the restless sea, courage, and the calm, quiet lake, old age. All rivers flow into the sea, but the sea is never full, the rivers return to where they came from, to flow again. In any case, this is about the turbulent boil of life. If suddenly the people around us become more successful, healthy, and content with life, then we've entered the right river. If, however, people around us mostly complain about life, we need to flee. Americans, in such cases, simply get up and leave. Helping someone in need is one thing, but immersing oneself in someone else's whining is dangerous. It can throw us to the periphery of the warm flow. In nature, everything is lawful and exists in harmony and balance. Where there is a positive, there's always a negative, day replaces night, good is balanced by evil, and vice versa. Life itself resembles a great river that branches into two periodically intersecting streams. One leads us to success, health, and happiness. The other flows in the opposite direction, bringing illness, premature aging, misfortune, and failure. It's impossible to always be positive. From a biological standpoint, anger or fear is a protective reaction. In nature, this response helps activate resources to survive in potentially dangerous situations. It is known that when animals are exposed to stress, fear and anxiety arise, which leads to freezing. This reaction is adaptive, helping the animal avoid detection by a predator. At the same time, fear and anxiety aid in adapting to changing environmental conditions and drive the search for appropriate behavior strategies in life-threatening situations. However, when the stress we experience becomes disproportionate in its intensity, chronic, and irreversible, it can provoke inadequate responses and contribute to certain somatic and mental disorders such as depression and increased anxiety. When we feel active and strong, we are more likely to feel happy. Mihaliksixant Mihalii. People die because they think poorly, says renowned gerontologist Justin Glaze. After all, emotions have their own chemical composition and set of neurotransmitters. Negative thoughts poison our existence, destroy our health, and immerse us in a flow of heavy, dirty energy. To move in the right life flow, we need to control our thoughts, think productively and optimistically, and not give in to despair. It's trendy to say that to be successful, one must catch the trend, the flow of promising social changes. Philosopher and sociologist Pitirim Sorokin, known for his theory of social stratification, argued that one of the simplest ways to build a career is to join the social group that's on the rise. For example, join the political party that will soon win the elections, get a job at a company experiencing its golden age, or join the team of a successful leader. Even without great personal achievements, by participating in successful projects, we can become successful. However, it's important to understand that while such success is enjoyable for its ease of achievement, it is not reliable. Sooner or later, even in a successful team, the question of each person's contribution to the overall success will arise, and since good positions always attract more candidates, competition will only grow with increasing social status. Thus, it's better to enter a flow not just as a participant of a social group but based on one's personal qualities and achievements. There's always a chance that such a flow may form around us. And this is where the discussion of group karma, family, ethnic, and national comes into play, where both positive and negative aspects of individual karma reflect on all members of the group. The closer we are to these people, the more they are affected. Conversely, the hidden and active karma of our environment also gradually influences us. A single event can awaken within us a stranger we have never known. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Time flows like a river, mercilessly devouring everything in its path. Of course, it's hard to determine at first glance what a person truly represents. But if thoughts about their karma arise, we should ask ourselves whether we are ready to share the same flow with them. If a person is constantly unlucky, those around them tend to distance themselves, fearing that their bad luck might spread to them as well. Strangely enough, there is some logic to this, as bad luck can be seen as one manifestation of karma. An analogy can be drawn with hydrodynamics, which studies the movement of ideal and real fluids, based on the theory of momentum transfer in liquids. Faster layers of fluid pull slower ones along, while slower layers can drag down the faster ones. When we communicate and work with like-minded people, our individual active karma is strengthened, forming a collective positive karma. Moving in the flow of like-minded individuals enhances our abilities and possibilities. If we have negative aspects in our hidden or active karma, the flow helps us overcome these difficulties more quickly and easily, forming our karma through the opportunities provided by the collective. In Buddhism, life is perceived as a manifestation of combinations or flows of dharmas, which are immaterial particles or individualized atomic events that make up the experience of living beings. This applies to both people and, for example, to stones. When the combination of dharmas dissolves, it is considered the onset of death. The first half of life includes acquiring education, professionalism, marriage, and career, while the second half is the time allotted for the development of the inner self. If this development does not occur, the individual begins to suffer, as the rules of the afternoon of life are different from those of the morning. Carl Jung. How wonderful it would be if each of us had a river that led to our own sea. According to Islam, which does not recognize the law of karma, a person's deeds and actions during their life pave the way for the next life, and Allah will see your deeds, and His messenger too. And you will be returned to the knower of the unseen and the seen, and He will inform you of what you did. Quran 9:105. The deeds a person performs in life will influence their fate and the stream of events after death. Depending on whether there were more good or bad deeds, the flow will lead them to paradise or hell. The biblical book of Proverbs gives us the phrase, "The words of a man's mouth are deep waters, the wellspring of wisdom is a flowing brook." Proverbs 18:4. The history of Christianity is rich in illustrations of the law of flow. Take, for example, the story of the prophet Jonah, whom the Lord called to serve during the reign of King Jeroboam II. The Lord commanded Jonah to go preach repentance to the sinful people of Nineveh. Jonah did not want to fulfill God's will, but no one can escape His plan. While Jonah was sailing on a ship, the Lord raised a great storm to remind him of his duty. In fear, the sailors threw Jonah overboard, and immediately the storm ceased. Jonah was then swallowed by a whale, where he remained for 3 days and nights. In the belly of the whale, Jonah repented, praying to God without ceasing. God commanded the whale to spit Jonah out onto dry land, and Jonah finally went to fulfill his will. The sinful people of Nineveh repented, and the Lord averted the disaster that was to come upon them for their sins. This biblical parable clearly demonstrates that, according to Christian belief, God's will always reach us, guiding us into the necessary flow, acting in our interests while maintaining the well-being of those around us. Kabbalah is built on the management of life's flows using magical formulas. The leading expert on Kabbalah, Michael Lettman, writes, "We, as humanity, represent a single integral organism, or, as scientists say, a superorganism. The ideal state of this organism is the harmonious interaction of all its elements. When the elements of the organism, or its organs, are in absolute harmonious connection with one another, the entire organism and each organ individually experience life. Eternal, perfect joy fills all of us, circulating between us, for it is evoked, sustained, and passed on by each of us. Harmonious relationships between elements form a warm flow, without which it is impossible to improve an individual's life. Even the largest rivers are but small streams at their source. Life is a great river, and the wise never fight the waves. They go with the flow, for they know, the current will carry them where they need to be." In European philosophy, the idea of the flow of existence was best developed in the teachings of the Stoics. They transformed the abstract idea into practical life conclusions. The fundamental principles of their behavioral model were formulated by the classic Stoics Zeno and Chrysippus. Dividing everything in the real world into what is preferred, avoided, and indifferent, they chose the path of the Stoic sage as proud adherents to destiny, moving within the existential flow. The Stoic accepted all of life's twists and turns with pride and did not try to escape his destiny, whatever it might be. A dog tied to a cart will arrive at its destined place. If it resists, the relentless cart of fate will drag it along, and the road of life will become a torment. But if the dog, understanding the inevitability of destiny, obediently follows it, then the flow road life will be a pleasant walk. As a social being, a person is constantly under the influence of the surrounding world, other people, their views, words, behavior, reactions to us, and to each other. This list could go on forever. It's impossible to imagine oneself outside of all this. We often talk about the impact of external factors on a child's development, paying attention to their family, friends, and environment. By analyzing these factors, we can predict their future and chances of success. Why not assign the same significance to an adult's surroundings? External factors directly influence our chances of success. If an unstoppable flow overtakes you, do not fight it, don't waste your strength, better to trust the waves. Ikkyu Sojun. A river always flows to the sea but never across. The river, relentlessly carrying everything with it, constantly renews itself, though the droplets that make it up are lost in the ocean awaiting it somewhere ahead. Humanity is a river of light flowing from eternity to eternity. By entering the right flow, choosing the correct direction, and finding a favorable environment, we move toward our dreams and goals much faster, often without fully understanding how it happens. Drawing inspiration from what surrounds us, we notice how our self-esteem grows, which in turn aids in achieving new goals and building our successful future.